Ginger tea. I don't know if that's actually going to help my throat too much more, but we'll see.
Well, ginger is good for your stomach anyway.
Yeah, at least I don't really have that much stomach problems, so.
That's good.
But, so you're going to mow the lawn, or finish mowing the lawn after we're done?
Yeah, because, well, I only mowed half of it on Friday afternoon after work. I was in jeans and my work and the t-shirt I wore to work, which
Well, I mean, you might as well.
It was
There's
my
no point in
forbidden.
getting new
Yeah.
clothes to vacuum to
Got
mow
it.
your lawn.
No, I was wearing jeans and my Forbidden Strong t-shirt because Friday was the 12th.
Strong. Pulse.
From
Gotcha.
Pulse. Yep. So I was wearing that shirt because, well, Friday was the 12th. But I am recording in a different room today. It is Brandy Lynn's bedroom / the guest room /
the clutter room.
I actually spent Thursday and Friday cleaning it up. So
Oh, good. Okay.
It's not cluttered. It looks nice. My wedding dress is hanging in here. I've got to go get that thing preserved and boxed up.
Yeah, I mean, it only takes, at least for me, I think it was like 100 or something.
Yeah, I know it's not very expensive.
It's just the process of actually sending it in is annoying.
Right, because the store the bridal shop that I got my wedding dress from, I mean, I 100% recommend them to anybody who lives in Central Florida, really. It's Aurora Bridal. They're fantastic, but for me, they're like 45 minutes to an hour away. So it's just like I've got to set aside
out of your way,
basically a whole morning or a whole afternoon to go take it down there. And then again, when it's done, I have to go all the way down there and pick it back up. So I'll do it.
It's going to be a pain in the ass no matter what, essentially.
Yeah, I know.
It's worth it, though.
I am recording in a different room because we just
Dogs.
have had many dog noises.
Dog barko. Dog clip clacks. Like,
I love my puppos, but boy, they make recording a tough time.
Love playing and they love you, so they're just like gotta be on top of you at all times.
It's
like
true.
Which I get. Like, my dog's the same. He usually like sits under the desk. But the thing is, if anybody knocks or he hears like any outside noises, he just starts barking.
Yeah.
I'm like,
I have
why?
a resident at my ALF who has an American Eskimo, but
what?
Yeah, his name is Kodiak, but he just goes by Cody.
That's so cute.
Yeah, he's a really pretty dog. Like, he's beautiful. Like, Zero is a beautiful dog. Like, Cody is a beautiful dog, but that dog is a little bitch.
That's not what I thought you were gonna say. Jesus
that
Christ.
dog is such a pain in the ass.
What does he do?
He just is the resident who owns him. She's a very sweet lady, but she did not raise him well. So he just will bark and he doesn't listen to commands. And if somebody else sneezes, he barks. If another dog walks by, he lunges for the other dog. It's like,
that's not usual American Eskimo behavior, so she must have fucked that dog up real good.
Yeah, there's 2 dogs in the ALF. There's Cody, and then there's another, he kind of looks like a Shih Tzu mutt, and his name is Polly, but it's spelled Pawly.
Okay.
So that's kind of cute, but they're both like that. They both lunge at other dogs. They both just bark incessantly, and so when they're both in the same room, oh my God. I'm like, if I'm on the phone, I'm like, I'm really sorry. I have to call you back. Doesn't matter who I'm on the phone with.
Really?
They just bark and it goes on for forever because neither of these women can control their dogs and they don't listen. They're like pulling on their leashes.
That would drive me nuts. Ugh. Zero does not lunge or bark at other dogs. He might tug to look at them or he hides. Mm-hmm. Like, there's no in between, but he doesn't bark or like pull super hard, but he listens. He just... Yeah. The thing is, we lived in a house for so long that now that we're living in an apartment, anybody that like walks by or locks their car or anything that he can hear, then he barks. But for the most part, he doesn't care about other people that much unless they're inside the apartment. So he's fine.
No. And Freya and Merlin are the same way. They're pretty well behaved. They do bark if somebody outside is walking their dog or if like the Amazon people come and drop something off.
That's like normal dog behavior though.
Right. Well, here's the thing about them barking at other dogs. dogs. Like, we have the bitch ass neighbors behind us, and then we have people who just
walk their dogs.
Walk their dogs out front, and they bark incessantly at them. But when you get them together with another dog, they're so happy, they're so friendly. It's like,
It just takes them a second.
I'm like, why are you barking at another dog when if I put you in a room with that other dog, you would
You'd
be
be
so
fine.
excited about it? Like,
I don't know. Dogs
anyway.
are weird. They have weird territorial things, and maybe they feel like they're protecting you or something. I have no clue.
Yeah, I don't know either, but I mean, I love them. They're my babies,
Yeah,
but
and
I had to
as
be in
long
a
as
different room
you're
because
like, gotta
editing was a
go.
problem.
Yeah, they gotta get out. They gotta get
Yeah,
out. They gotta be
so
loud somewhere else. But
yeah.
yeah, what made your week long? What are your highs and lows?
I don't, in a stark contrast from well, there is one low-ish. We had gotten a text from my mother-in-law, and she basically said, you should come see Patches this weekend. So we went to see Patches, which is my wife's childhood dog, but it turned out to be a little bit of a false alarm because that dog, she's very old.
I'll
She's a
say
very
she's
good, sweet girl, but she's
very
very
old.
old. But when we went over there, she was like,
Pretty
she doesn't even
upbeat.
realize she's old, you know? She still gets really excited when people walk in the door. She gets mad when people walk outside because she wants to go with them. So I don't.
How old is
So
she now?
it
Like 15?
16.
60? Yeah, that's old.
But so that's kind of that was like kind of the low and the high because we got that text and
It scared you.
it was scary and really sad because I haven't known Patches for nearly as long, but I've kind of grown attached to her. And of course, Kay doesn't want to acknowledge it, but I can tell it bothers her. But then we went over there, and the good news is like Patches, apart from just, not moving quite as well as she probably did when she was
pretty
younger,
much
like,
the same.
yeah, doesn't even realize she's an old dog. It's
You're
adorable.
like, do you know your ancient sweetheart? I love you, but do you know?
So that was like my high or my low, and my high is like we kind of had like a scary moment, but it turned out to be fine. So she's okay. She's even better than the last time I saw her because the last time I saw her, her nose was kind of bleeding everywhere. So, and that was not the case this time. So yay, good things. Good things.
She's getting, things happen and it's unfortunate, but at least you guys are able to spend time with her while she still is here.
Yeah, and she's, Kay and her family have taken very good care of that dog. So whenever her time comes, it will be sad, but also
you'll know that she lived a very long and fulfilling life.
Yes, she had, yeah. And I do know, like, I can tell even my father-in-law, who doesn't super care about the dog, like, I can tell he's
more attached than he lets on.
That's a good way to put it. He is more attached than he lets on, and they all have taken very, very, very good care of that dog. So
that's really nice, though.
Yes, that was like the big kind of low and then high, which were kind of wrapped up in the same thing. But I'm just very glad that Patches is doing okay.
Same.
What are your lows and highs? Tell me about your swing set.
Tell me about my what?
Your swing set.
What about my
you go low and high.
Sorry.
That was so bad.
I was like, my what? I was like, I don't have one of those. I don't even have a backyard.
I know.
I guess my high is I finally cleaned my car and I decluttered my closet. Which seems really stupid, but I got rid of over half of my clothes to donation because I either can't fit it or I just don't wear it, and I'm tired of just holding on to things I don't need when someone else could be using them because they're still in good condition. I just can't wear them, and I'm not going to keep hoping that I'll suddenly lose a ton of weight. I'm just like, it's fine, like it's not that serious.
Yeah, I'm holding on to a pair of jeans because in my brain I'm like, oh, I'll lose weight, but I should probably just get rid of them.
That's the thing is, like, I've been holding on to things that are like 2 or 3 sizes smaller than I am now. This is the heaviest I've ever been in my life, and there's nothing wrong with that, but I'm just tired of making excuses for myself to be like, oh, I'm gonna lose this weight, and I'm like, no, this is just your weight now. Why not buy things that actually make you feel good instead of feeling bad that something looks bad on you now, or being like, oh, maybe I'll fit into it again. I'm like, just buy stuff for your weight and then you'll feel great,
Yeah, and I just want to, like, because this is a podcast, they don't see us, like, we are not unhealthy.
No, like, not at all. It's
just because we are quote unquote heavier, the heaviest we have been does not mean that we're like,
oh no, the heaviest I've been is still not a big deal. It's just
right.
It's just a new thing for me, that's all. But overall, I'm still pretty healthy weight wise, but a lot of the weight gain I think was because I went back on birth control. So I had a huge spike in weight with that, which is pretty normal, but it's just adjusting to that and trying to find clothes that fit me now instead of fucking sausaging myself into something that just doesn't fit anymore. So that's part of it. So I feel good about getting rid of stuff and donating it to people that actually really need it. So that was good. And then I guess my low was I had to sort through all of my stuff with my ex-husband, which was I moved on, he's moved on, but it's still sad.
Yeah, that's hard,
Going through
especially
all of
because
this
you had
stuff.
like
But yeah, going through some of that stuff and just looking at some of our memories just were a little bit, I don't know. It hasn't been that long in the grand scheme of things. But
it's emotionally
it's
trying.
emotionally, yeah, draining. Even though we both know that it's best that we're not together, it still sucks. Because obviously you don't marry someone because you think it's not gonna work, you know? But
Right, exactly.
going through stuff where we had this like huge picture frame that says Mr. and Mrs. on it, and I had to open it and like take all the pictures out and put them in a box and put basically any of our wedding stuff or engagement stuff, because we had an ornament from somebody that said she said yes and our names and like the year and stuff like that I just put all in a box and that we're just gonna tuck away. And it was hard because we both were just like, what are we supposed to do with this now? And we both agreed that we didn't want to throw it away because it's still a part of our lives, and neither one of us regret it. We don't plan on being outside of each other's lives anytime soon, but it still sucks. Yeah, it was just difficult seeing that stuff again.
It's like valid to feel that when you're going through something like that.
Honestly, if I didn't feel something, I would be a little
That's almost
more.
worse.
Yeah, neither one of us like cried or anything like that. We were just very sad to put it all in a box and put it away. But he basically just like, there was like a couple of things we were able to donate, the things that aren't personalized. There was like a couple ornaments that just said Mr. and Mrs., but they didn't say our date or our names or anything. But there was a ton of ornaments that we had that said our names and the date we got married. And I'm like, okay, we can't donate this.
Yeah,
no one's gonna want this.
Yeah, really.
But other than that, the process went well. He's moving in a couple days. I'm sure there's more stuff he's going to find. But overall, he's feeling a lot better to declutter. I feel better about donating not only all of his stuff, but my stuff too. So that's my high and low. Excited
Your
to
high
move.
and low were also kind of wrapped in the same situation. Yeah. And that is life, I think. Sometimes it just works out like that.
It just be like that sometimes. But I do like just getting rid of stuff I don't need and actually giving it to people that need it, especially right now with COVID and people losing their jobs and homes and lives. If someone needs any of my clothes, there you go.
Yeah.
None of them are destroyed. Any of the ones that were like, okay, I don't think anyone's gonna, I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna throw this out. But a good chunk of it was stuff that I hadn't worn in years, but they're still in really, really good condition. I'm like, I just don't wear this. If I haven't put on a t-shirt in 2 years,
you're probably not gonna wear it.
I'm not gonna wear it. It's fine. But that was it.
Well, good. I'm glad that worked out. I also want to come back real quick to touch a little bit more on that it's Pride Month. Friday was the anniversary of Pulse, and we both live in Central Florida, and so that hit us a little bit harder than maybe it did for people in other parts of the world.
Yeah, it's a little too close to home.
Yeah, it was very
I
close.
lost somebody in Pulse, so...
Yes, I also knew somebody who was a victim of that situation, and I think about him all the time.
Yeah.
Not just during Pride Month, but all the time I think about him. So
it's hard.
I didn't want to like move on too much without at least acknowledging that, because there's a lot going on in the world right now with the Black Lives Matter, which we, as you know, you probably have already seen, you support that, and we've put out some information about how you can support that as well if you want to. But I don't want that to overshadow things that, even though it happened 4 years ago on Friday, it's still
relevant.
And it's still relevant. It's still an important part of
both of our lives and many other people's lives, and as people that are LGBT plus as well,
and Hispanic, because that night was the Latin night, so a lot of people who were victims of that situation
happened to be Hispanic as well.
So that hit me kind of double whammy, in that it was LGBT, which I am, and it happened to Hispanic people, which I also am. So
it's just a bad time all around.
Yeah, it's a real heavy time, and I don't want to spend too much time on it, because, you know, I think I speak for both of us when I say we want to throw some positive and some good things out into the world,
especially right now.
Why we do this podcast,
but getting into my story, then, it is not positive at all.
Oh, good. Okay. So
It's kind of disgusting.
great.
So, I mean,
Well,
so I had told
hit me with it.
Angel that that the story that I was doing was very interesting but gross and sad, and she was like, "Oh, can't wait. Thank you for that one." A lot of my sources, Wikipedia, historydaily.org, kqed.org, a couple of other random sources, but I figured I'd cite some of them.
Yeah, we should. We're trying to like be better about citing our sources
Yeah,
so
I
that
need
people
to do
like
it more often, so that's why I was like, wait, let me
yeah.
throw this in here. But yeah, so Karl von Cosel, the German-born radiologist who came to Key West, Florida, after leaving his wife and children in 1926. Once in Florida, he presented himself as a count and claimed to be a submarine captain who moonlighted as an inventor. You know, as you
As you
do.
do. Something about this, the beginning seems familiar, but I might be thinking of a different story. So,
Maybe you're not.
oh, okay. All right.
So the next year, he took a job as a radiologist at the United States Marine Hospital. In his very early childhood, he said he would be regularly visited by one of his dead ancestors who kept showing him the face of his one true love, an exotic, dark-haired woman. Fast forward to 1930s era.
I don't like
Carl's
exotic dark-haired woman.
That's how everyone described this woman, by the way.
Okay. Well, I
Uh,
guess.
which I don't like the word exotic because she was just Hispanic.
Oh.
Again, Karl von Cosel, he's German, so he's white, white, white.
Oh, okay.
So anything, I guess, other than white, he was probably like, oh, exotic, so exotic, you know?
Ugh. But this is the 1920s, so okay.
1930s, and yes,
30s. My bad.
that is why it's like, okay, he doesn't get a pass. I don't like this man. Just telling you.
Okay.
So
All right.
it's the 1930s, and now he's working as a doctor in Key West. And one day at the hospital, a Cuban American woman named Maria Elena Milagro de Hoyos walks in, and
You did a good job.
thank you.
That was
He
good.
immediately recognizes her as the girl from his dead ancestor visions. Perfect, right? So, a little bit
I'm
of
like, I'm
backstory.
taking a hard pass.
He's like, oh my god, she's here. Again, this is
Ew.
a hospital, so keep that in mind.
Oh no. She
So I'm
works there
gonna.
or she's a
Oh, I'll
patient?
get into it. So
Okay.
I'm
Okay.
gonna
So,
explain Hoyos a little bit more for y'all.
okay.
So, by all accounts, Hoyos was viewed to be a local from Key West who was very, very beautiful. Elena was the daughter of a local cigar maker, Francisco Pancho Hoyos. He also was married to Aurora. Elena had two different sisters, Florinda, who everyone just called Nana, and Mario Mendina was her husband. Unfortunately, they both had died from tuberculosis. She had another sister named Celia. She also died very young. There's not a lot of information about her family in the way that you would think, only because this was a very long time ago, and two, a lot of people were dying of tuberculosis, so there was not a lot of records, unfortunately. Like
They just
they
assume
don't
everybody
even
died of
yeah,
tuberculosis.
like there's some of these like death dates and birthdays are question marks because there's just not records of like
And
at
probably
this time.
people, because she was not a white person, terrible to say, like people just were like, oh, we don't need to keep super close records because her and her family were not like white.
Yeah, exactly. That's also part of it too, is a lot of these records are kind of messed up. Unfortunately, Nana's husband had passed away as well at a young age because he was electrocuted trying to rescue a coworker who had hit a power line. So that's great. But moving on, unfortunately, they all had passed away pretty early. But in February of 1926, Elena married Luis Mesa, who was born in 1908. They have no idea when he died, again because of the record issue. Unfortunately, her husband had left Elena shortly after she suffered a miscarriage of the couple's child, and he had moved to Miami.
What a bitch.
Yeah, right? Elena was still legally married to Mesa until she died. They never got a divorce or anything like that. Elena was unfortunately diagnosed with tuberculosis, a typically fatal disease at the time that eventually claimed the lives of almost all of her immediate family. That's why they all died pretty young. If you look
Right.
up all their like death days, they all pretty much died in the 30s and 40s.
Okay.
All of like tuberculosis. So, Karl van Cosel Tanzler, at this point, he had taken on Tanzler for some reason, that German weirdo.
Because he
Who,
was a duke or a count or something like that.
yeah, he claimed he was.
Right.
There's
That's
nothing to
I was
prove
making a
that.
joke.
Yeah, because he was count, of course.
I'm so deadpan. Sorry.
So Tanzler, he said that he was super smart and he was like, oh, I have tons of medical knowledge. When he saw Elena walk in, he immediately knew that that was the person in his visions. So the reason Elena had come into the hospital, for your answer now, she had tuberculosis.
Okay.
So he attempted to treat and cure Elena with a variety of different medicines, as well as x-ray and electrical equipment that were brought directly to her home. That's how much he was trying to save her. He also gave her tons of gifts of jewelry and clothing. He allegedly, no one really knows, he allegedly told her that he loved her. But there's no evidence to kind of see if she had ever reciprocated that affection or had
She
said
was
anything.
married, right? Oh, but you said that he left her.
Yes. So
Okay.
keep in mind, Elena is 22 at this point.
Oh, she's a child.
Carl is in his 50s.
Ew.
So, unfortunately, she passes away. He was not able to save her. She died at 22. Tuberculosis got her really good, just like everyone else in her family, unfortunately. So Carl now, he is
so young,
so upset that his love has passed away and he did not get to spend much time with her. He then immediately makes a death mask of her face.
Ew.
Great, right? I love a good old death mask. Have you ever seen a death mask?
I'm a little bit nervous to look it up, but I will.
Okay.
Should I do it
I'm going to
like
explain it to you.
incognito?
No. So a death mask is essentially, after a person dies, a death mask is made usually of wax or plaster after a person has died, and they put their face in it so you can get an impression of their face.
Oh, yeah, I'm looking
Because
at
he was so
pictures.
beautiful and all the, which she was. If you look at pictures of her, she's very, very beautiful.
What's her name again?
Her name is Elena de Hoyos, is her short version of her name. That's what she went by. She was very beautiful.
Yes, she was.
Yeah, she's super, super cute. So I guess he wanted to preserve her face. With the permission from Elena's family, he pays for the funeral and constructs an above-ground mausoleum in Key West Cemetery for Elena, because he loved her. He insists on an airtight casket with an incubator tank full of formaldehyde to prevent decay. Not weird at all, right?
Ew.
He's like, no. This is good. We got to preserve her. I love her. I don't want her to decay. She's beautiful. And her family was, not as well off as Tanzler. And they were like, okay, we don't want her to, go out like this. So yeah, sure. Whatever works for you, weird German dude. Like,
okay.
I don't think they had really realized. They really thought that he was just a doctor that was trying to save her because he was a kind doctor. They didn't realize that he had loved her and that he was trying to be with her. I don't think they ever had a clue about this. So, unfortunately, this is where things start to get even weirder. You ready? Buckle in, everybody. This is gonna get real bad.
Okay.
On an evening in April 1933, he went to the cemetery that she was buried at and removed her from the mausoleum. He then put her body in a toy wagon and transported all the way back to his house.
In a toy wagon? Like I'm imagining like a red flyer.
I mean, I don't know what the wagon looked like, but it was definitely not for carting your dead loved one back home. So,
Okay.
I don't know if red flyer really makes a difference. Honestly, if it was red, nah, it's dark. I don't think anyone's gonna see anything.
Okay.
This was very late at night. So he reportedly had told people that Elena's spirit would be coming to him and would sit by her grave and serenade her with any of her favorite Spanish songs. And he also said that she would tell him to take her from the grave. Because if I was a spirit, I would also try and coax someone to dig me up, as one does.
No.
So he decided to attach her bones together with piano wire and fitted her face with glass eyes. And since the skin of her corpse had decomposed at this point, he replaced it with silk cloth. Eric's face. I looked over at Eric and he looked so upset. You should just listen to it in the podcast. It's really bad. I said it was gross.
Oh, man.
I wasn't kidding, guys. Anyways, back to the old grind. So.
Oh, God. Oh, no.
It's not funny, but...
No, it's not, but his reaction is.
Yeah, I looked over and Eric was making the most disgusted face I'd ever seen. And it was really bad.
You should... Oh, my face is probably very similar to his face.
It was pretty bad. So he replaced her skin with silk cloth soaked in wax and plaster. And as
Wait, hold on. You said that she had been preserved in a tank of formaldehyde, but her skin was still decaying?
Yeah, it wasn't. You can't keep someone from decaying forever.
Well, okay, I guess that's fair.
Okay, I also missed a grave point. This is 2 years after she died. This is not fresh.
Oh.
I should have said that. I'm very sorry. So the
That makes a
reason
big
why,
difference.
yeah, this is gross. Like,
That is a very important point
yeah,
that
this
you
is
failed
like,
to
this
mention.
is years after she had already been dead.
Ew. Oh my
So
god.
let me preface. So Elena died 1931, and he dug her up in April of 1933. So again, like 2 years after she had already been dead.
Oh.
So,
Okay. See, I was picturing like a couple of months later, like,
oh
yeah,
no.
decay will happen, but in formaldehyde, not that fast, right? No. Oh, what
Yeah,
you
now it makes a
mean?
little more sense as to why she's gross.
Okay. Ew.
So he decided, because her hair was falling out of her decomposing scalp, as it does after 2 years, he fashioned a wig from her hair as it fell out because she was still decomposing. So every time it came out, he put a little wig, kept adding to the wig, and he was like, this is good. I like this. And he filled her corpse up with rags to keep the original form she had had and the shape she had. He dressed Elena in stockings and jewelry and gloves, and he kept the body. I want you to guess where he kept it.
Uh,
You're not gonna guess.
I'm trying to. Well, it doesn't stand upright. Was it in like? Did he like put her in like a glass case?
Oh no. Think
Okay.
worse than that.
Worse than that. He. Oh no. He did not sleep with it.
Ding ding ding.
Ew! 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 Ew!
He put it in his
No!
bed.
Ew!
Yeah, so he had it in his bed, babe. That's how bad it this was. Like, he's a gross man. He used a lot of perfume, disinfectants, preserving agents to mask the odor of her decomposition.
The amount of like disinfectant and cover up spray
You
that you
know
would have
how
to
long?
use.
Yeah, I would say, do you know how much you would have to use? And again, this is 2 years after, so this is prime gross. Like,
Yeah.
death doesn't, it's really hard to get the smell out. Especially because when you die, your fluids leave your
Mm-hmm.
body, and the longer you're sitting there, especially if that person isn't found for a long time.
Yep.
So, yeah,
So
the
the
amount of
amount of
perfume
disinfectant. Oh.
and disinfectant and everything to mask the odor, his bed must have been disgusting, number
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
Number two, I don't care how much perfume you use, she's not going to smell good. She's not going to, she's decomposing. So,
Yeah. I mean, I'm sorry I'm
here's
laughing, but the way you
here's
said
the here's the worst thing, okay?
I'm not ready.
He kept her body for 7 years. 7 years. So,
I am
he just
speechless.
kept preserving her, and if like pieces got messed up, he would just replace them or like put them back. It doesn't specifically say that he did things with this body, but I'm going to assume that he did because it was in his bed.
Oh,
What else would you be doing with it, you
I
know?
I
So,
don't I am yeah, I don't have any I can't think of
oh,
anything
yeah,
instead
I
to
mean, it's just continuously keeps, getting worse
it
and
gets
worse.
worse.
Well, the 7 years is probably the worst thing, is that he
Okay.
had a body in his bed for 7 years and no
I
one
mean,
noticed. Um,
that's I did he live in an apartment? Like, how did you not notice?
he lived in a house, but
Oh.
no one, I guess he just didn't invite people over. I don't know.
Yes, he must not have.
So, 7 years later, in October of 1940, Elena's sister, Nana, heard
Mhm.
rumors that he was sleeping with a disinterred body. And she was like, I gotta check this shit out, because she knew that he was very infatuated with Elena. So she confronted him. She went to his home, where she realized that there was something in his bed. And Elena's body was eventually discovered. He also, part of the reason people had started this rumor that they realized that he had a corpse, guess what? The front
He's
window of his house was open, and he was just dancing with her corpse in front of it.
Oh my
So that's
god.
part of the reason they found that
Ew.
out. They were like, that's not a human. That looks weird.
I'm like, I'm sorry.
If
I don't
you,
mean to
so I
laugh,
want
but
you
I
to,
don't know what
I
else to
want you to
do.
do me a favor. Go ahead and look up Elena De Hoya and look
Okay.
what she looks like as the dead body, because there's a picture of her dead body.
Okay.
It looks
Okay.
like he drew her face on.
Oh no.
Do you see it?
Yeah.
The terrible wig, the eyebrows drawn on. I'm sorry, if I saw something like that in a front window,
Mhm.
oh lord.
She looks she looks nothing
Like
in
how she did at all.
Yeah, this poor girl. Oh,
Yeah.
this poor girl.
So apparently, after confronting, she left and she notified the authorities, and he was arrested and detained. He was psychiatrically examined and found to be mentally competent to stand trial on charge of maliciously destroying a grave and removing a body without authorization. After a
Okay.
preliminary hearing on October 9th of 1940 at the Monroe County Courthouse in Key West, he was held to answer on the charge, but the case was eventually dropped and he was released,
What?
as the statute of limitations for the crime had expired because it had been 7 years,
Oh my
which
god.
is stupid. That
Oh my
that
god.
can
Her
happen.
poor family is probably like, you've got to be kidding me
Unfortunately, a
right
lot
now.
of them had died at this point,
So
other than her
weird. But the
sister. Yeah.
sister, yeah,
Yeah. But her poor sister must have just been like, "Are you kidding me?"
beside herself. Yeah, I would be.
Yeah, exactly. Why is there more? Thank you. Just add to the pile of food. Don't hurt
Oh
yourself,
my.
please. So it's funny, we set up a baby gate in front of the door because
Uh-huh.
Zero's gonna be here later,
Uh-huh.
and seeing both guys have to walk over the baby gate is so funny. So Eric brought me Wawa, and
Oh,
then
I
David
miss
just came
having
in
a
here and
Wawa
gave me a
close
slice
by.
of pizza. I love both of them.
I miss I miss having a Wawa close by.
Yeah, it's great.
Oh, I bet you can
So
hear the dog,
I
can't you?
can, but where was I? So yeah, I mean, poor girl was just like, I want peace and justice for my
And like
sister.
Hispanic people, as a general rule, they hold their dead, I don't want to say
Very,
like
very
sacred, but it's
highly.
very, yeah, but their dead loved ones are, to put them to rest is very important to Hispanic people.
The fact that she
Like
had
it's just
not
part
been
of, yeah,
for
that her
7
body,
years.
yeah.
I'm sure
Oh,
she
I would
also
be
felt a
beside
lot of
myself.
guilt not
Yeah.
knowing. So, unfortunately, he got released. And shortly after the corpse's discovery, Elena's body was examined by physicians and pathologists and was actually put on public display
Oh no.
at the Dean Lopez Funeral Home, where it was viewed by almost 7,000 people.
Oh my god.
Elena's body was eventually returned to the Key West Cemetery, where the remains were buried in an unmarked grave in a
Oh.
secret location, only
Okay.
because he was free and they didn't
Okay.
want him to dig her back up.
Yeah.
The facts underlying the case and the preliminary hearing drew a lot of interest from the media at the time, from like the Key West Citizen and Miami Herald, and created a sensation to the public,
Mhm.
regionally and nationwide.
Mhm.
The public kind of was generally sympathetic to him
To him?
because they viewed him as an eccentric romantic.
No.
And it's like, no, he's just gross. They never had a relationship before she died.
Yeah.
If they were in a relationship and they had been in one for a while and they loved each other dearly and then she had died, then maybe it would just be seen as like, he had a broken heart and he's a little crazy. They didn't have a relationship ever.
Right.
That's not romantic. That's
No, that's
creepy.
disgusting. Yeah.
So,
Oh, this poor
unfortunately,
girl.
they kept talking about earlier, they didn't have hard proof that he had been doing stuff with her body, but
Mhm.
eventually they released more of what was going on, and there was more evidence that there was necrophilia, unfortunately.
Oh.
So, two physicians, I want to
Mhm.
say their names, but either edit this out or keep it in, I don't care. But the two
Mhm.
physicians' names were Dr. Foraker, and Dr. Deepu. Depoo, Deepu,
Poor guy.
who attended the 1940 autopsy of Elena's remains. In 1972, a vaginal tube had been inserted into her vaginal area of the corpse, and that's what he was using. So that's great.
Ew.
Others contend that there's no evidence of necrophilia that was presented at the 1940 hearing, but the physician's proof in 1972, over 30 years after the case had been dismissed, the necrophilia allegation is questionable, so no one actually knows if this is true. That's why I
Mhm.
was like, there is proof, but there's not. They don't know if
Mhm.
those people had just been like, well, look at this thing. It never was brought up in 1940. They never ever talked about it. They just
Okay.
talked about it like way later.
So like 30
So,
years later.
yeah, so no existing photographs of the autopsy or photographs taken at the public display showed any kind of tube, so they're not really sure if that was true or not. I wouldn't be surprised, is what I'm gonna say
Yeah.
at
I
this point.
I feel, I'm like super grossed out, but at the same time,
I
like I
feel like,
agree.
yeah, that's the thing is like, there is no proof of this, but I feel like knowing that it was in his bed and that he was dancing with it and then he was so hopelessly in love with her, I'm going to assume he probably did something.
Mhm.
In 1944, he moved to Pascal County, Florida, close to Zephyr Hills.
Mm-hmm.
Woo. Part of the reason I say woo is Eric and David and all of them are from Zephyr Hills, like born and raised.
Oh.
So he wrote an autobiography that appeared in pulp publication called Fantastic Adventures in 1947, and his home was near his wife Doris, who apparently helped to support him in his later years. He received United States citizenship in 1950 in Tampa, and separated from his obsession from Elena, he used a death mask to create a life-sized effigy of Elena and lived with it until his death at 75 on July 3rd, 1952, which, if I was his wife, I'd be like, why are you still like this?
I would not be his wife.
That's the thing, is how did he pull that one off?
I'm so grossed out.
His body was discovered on the floor of his home 3 weeks after his death. Good.
Good.
He died under the name Cosel Tanzler, even though his name was Karl von Cosel.
Tanzler? Where did Tanzler come from? He just decided.
I guess when he became a citizen or something, he changed his name to make it better. I have no idea. Which is why I didn't use Tanzler or Cosel this whole time, because it's confusing. But it has been recounted that he was found in the arms of Elena's effigy upon discovery of his corpse, but his obituary reported that he had died on the floor behind one of his organs. So no one really knows. The obituary that was written about him said a metal cylinder on a shelf above a table, in it wrapped in a silken cloth and robe was a waxen image. The image, I believe, was Elena. But it has been written that Tanzler had the bodies switched, or that Elena's remains were secretly returned to him, and that he had died with the real body of Elena. So no one will ever know if that is true or not.
Yeah.
But a lot of people thought that he had like switched them out somehow before the authorities came or something. I don't know if that's true. I really hope not. I hope she...
Yeah, I hope that she's resting in peace. Far away from him.
In popular culture, the Ripley's Believe It or Not Museum in Key West has an exhibit recreating Elena's body being cared for by Tanzler, so that's nice. Portions of the original memorial plaque...
That's not the word I would use.
Yeah, I was going to say, defiled, not cared for.
Yeah,
the
really.
original memorial plaque that was commissioned by Tanzler and affixed to her mausoleum has been reassembled, and it is on display at the Martello Gallery Key West Art and Historical Museum in Key West still. A lot of bands have unfortunately written about her and him, so that's cool. There's a lot of music. There's
this whole story is really icky to me. I
told you it was gross.
It's only because I literally don't even know what to say.
I told you it was disgusting.
Yeah.
They're mentioned in other podcasts. I'm going to mention some of them because there are some of our favorites as well. It was covered by Full of It podcast, the Dollop podcast, and That's Why We Drink, My Favorite Murder, Criminal, Stuff You Should Know podcasts. So just thought that you should know.
Some of those are our favorite.
And I have listened to the And That's Why We Drink version and My Favorite Murder. I have not listened to the other ones, but I figured I would bring them up here. The fact that...
Probably, though, if you're listening to us and not them, I don't know what kind of rock you're living under.
I would say they're pretty amazing, so please listen to them.
I mean, we are also amazing, but not nearly as widely known yet.
We're putting that out in the world. Anyways, yeah, that is the story of Maria Elena Milagro de Hoyos, and rest her soul and the things that she was put through.
Poor thing. Yeah, I really hope that she's just resting in peace, far, far away from him.
Me too.
Ugh, that poor thing.
So what do you got for me today, Angel?
So I have quite a bit of news today, so we'll just go ahead and get through it. We'll start at the beginning, I guess. Instead of giving all of my sources at once, because there's a couple different news pieces, I'll just give the source that I got from at the beginning of each news bit. So this first one, it's about Overwatch and Overwatch League, comes from mostly from The Verge, which is a website.
Boo.
Why Why did you say boo?
I said woo.
Oh, I thought you said boo.
No.
Anyway,
Woo.
okay. So as you know, the third season of Overwatch League has been underway for quite some time, but it's been pretty tumultuous. I don't know if you know anything about that. I had talked about, not last week because I did Brittany Murphy last week, but the week before, I had talked a little bit about how the Vancouver Titans had changed out their entire roster due to the complications about gaming at home because of the coronavirus and things like that. So that is one of the things. Another thing is that super famous player J1, aka Sinatra from San Francisco, retired from the Overwatch League and moved on to play a new kind of FPS called Valorant because, and this is a quote straight from him, he's just straight up lost passion for the game, meaning Overwatch.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah, and he was a really good player. I liked to watch him. So the other thing the big thing, I guess, that has made the season kind of tumultuous is the weekly changing hero pools. I don't know if you've seen anything of that, but yeah. So because of all that, and on top of the fact that since Overwatch League changed its partnership from Twitch to YouTube, viewership has been down. So things have been kind of rough for the Overwatch League. However, last month in May, the Overwatch League had put on a tournament called the May Melee, how aptly named, which it started with several weeks worth of qualification matches and then a weekend-long knockout competition.
Interesting.
So it was actually, I did watch a little bit of it just for fun. Because of that, the tournament actually more than doubled viewership from the previous week of Overwatch League with more than 63,000 viewers worldwide.
Jeez.
And then more than 88,000 viewers tuned in to watch the grand final between, you're not going to believe this, the Florida Mayhem and the San Francisco Shock.
Okay.
Yay, Florida, I guess.
Yay, Florida.
So, in part because of the success from the tournament style that they had gone to, and also in part because of COVID-19 forcing the Overwatch League to kind of play remotely, they are actually, for the remainder of the 2020 season, Overwatch League is going to go back to that tournament style that they had done in the May Melee. So that, combined with the return of the OWL tokens, has improved viewership, but it's still not as good as other esports games.
Dang.
They're trying to figure out how to kind of
spice it up, make people more interested again. Yeah,
and that is
it's a big deal.
And so along with that, that change, they're also changing hero pool changes from weekly to every 2 weeks in hopes that helps keep from players like leaving to move on to other games. So that's what I have about Overwatch. The next bit comes, I found it on NBC News, and then I saw a more detailed article on USA Today, but Epic Games is being sued.
Whoa.
Yep. So they're being sued because of Fortnite. So apparently 2 Canadian parents, only their initials have been disclosed. So FN and JZ, they are parents of a 10 and 15-year-old, are being represented by, did I say that right?
Yeah, you said it wrong.
They are being represented. English is hard. By a Montreal-based law firm, Calyx Legal. I don't know. I don't think I'm saying that right because it's French, but
you're saying it as best as you can.
Yeah. So this next bit is translated from French, but legal action alleges that, quote unquote, when a person is engaged in Fortnite for a long period, the player's brain releases the pleasure hormone dopamine, and that Fortnite was developed by psychologists, statisticians, and others for 4 years to, quote unquote, in the quote, develop the most addictive game possible. Also, Epic.
Are you kidding me?
Also, Epic could reap lucrative profits.
Yeah, what do you think all video games are?
I know. So, as we know, Fortnite is a free-to-play game, but you can spend real-life money to buy, like, skins and outfits and emotes or whatever. The defendants argue that they use similar tactics in, like, slot machines and variable awards to ensure independence of its users, manipulating them to always want more.
Okay.
They say that these loot boxes and things are a form of gambling, and that's why gambling for a minor in most places is illegal, because kids' brains just aren't like developed to be able to handle impulse control. So
teach your kid to not need every fucking new thing.
Right. Well, that's the thing. Right. That's kind of where I think, like, it is. We talked about this in an episode previous, but it is wild to me that people would spend real life
I don't
money
spend a
on
lot
video
of real life
games.
money on video games, which is fine. Like, if you do, cool, you're a grown ass adult, but like, teach your kid.
Yeah.
Like, if you
Teach your
have a
kid.
kid, teach your kid that they don't need to spend your money on a video game and
Yeah.
that they can work for it themselves if they want to, you know?
That's kind of what my mom was always like. I'm not giving you money. If you want it, you have to do chores to earn it. And then by the time I earned it, I like didn't want to spend it because I worked so hard for it, you know? Or
Exactly.
I would save it for something big that I really, really wanted. And by the time I had saved enough money, I didn't want the small thing anymore. So
Makes sense, though.
So, in wake of this specific legal action, Epic Games refused to comment. They declined to comment, but they have 30 days from the initial legal action to respond. So, this isn't actually the first time they've been sued.
Surprise!
Yeah, so last year in June of 2019, so basically exactly a year ago, a case was brought to federal courts of California because Fortnite lacked parental controls and the ability to allow parents or guardians to make informed decisions on its in-game purchasing capabilities. So, game addiction is like a legit thing. Apparently,
It is, absolutely.
yeah, apparently the World Health Organization, they've been busy lately,
They've been busy.
officially sanctioned gaming disorder as a diagnosable mental disorder.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like gambling or it's the same kind of thing.
So, this next one's a bit long, but I'm gonna try to get through it as quickly as possible because it's the big news from Sony and PlayStation Twitters and the website and Tech Radar. The Last of Us 2 podcast will start every Tuesday for the next 8 weeks.
Yes!
So I'll just read a quote from their RSS feed. The official podcast of The Last of Us, critically acclaimed winner of over 200 Game of the Year awards, offers an immersive experience that blends dynamic conversations and the cinematic storytelling that changed gaming forever. Featuring writer and creative director Neil Druckmann and stars Troy Baker and Ashley Johnson, as well as other talents and visionaries who brought the game to life. The official Last of Us podcast will take the listeners through the groundbreaking journey of Part 1 and the making of highly anticipated Part 2. So
freaking exciting.
So as of today, today's the 14th when we're recording this game is set to release on June 19th.
Game or podcast?
The game. The podcast, I think it's supposed to release every Tuesday. So the 16th it will release, like, I think the first episode, and then the 19th, the first game will be released.
Gotcha. Okay.
So now let's get into the meat of the situation. Sony had originally planned to do a console and game lineup announcement on June 4th, but because of the Black Lives Matter movement, they actually postponed it from the 4th to the 11th. So this happened on Thursday, today's Sunday, and so they announced on Thursday the PS5. Like, officially, we knew it was coming, but they officially like announced it and showed it, and I got information about the PS5 itself, as well as games that are coming out. So let's hop right into that. The PS5, it's bigger in terms of size than the PS4, and it's also got like a really slick and nice black and white color scheme. I think it's gorgeous.
Beetlejuice.
Yeah, no, I think it's gorgeous. So here's some of the specs, and I got this specifically from Games Radar. I'm gonna just read it to you verbatim.
Hey.
The central processing unit is AMD Zen 2 based CPU with 8 cores at 3.5 gigahertz variable frequency.
Okay.
Graphics processing unit is 10.28 teraflops. That's my favorite word.
Wait, that's a real word?
Teraflops stands for something. Hold on. Okay, so teraflops is a tera floating point operations per second.
Okay.
It's a computer performance measurement.
Okay. It sounds fake.
It's T-flops, but I've heard T-flops and teraflops used interchangeably. So
that's pretty funny.
Anyway, so 10.28 teraflops, 36 CUs at 2.23 gigahertz variable frequency. The GPU architecture is a custom RDNA2, which is the code name for the GPU microarchitecture and accompanying instruction set developed by AMD. If you didn't know that, I didn't know that when I was looking at this.
Yeah, I didn't know that either.
This is a lot of tech information, but I know people who are listening are going to want to know about the specs, so that's why I went ahead and added them here. Memory interface is 16 gigabytes GDDR6/256-bit. Memory bandwidth is 448 gigabytes. Audio is Tempest 3D. Internal storage, custom 825 gigabytes SSD. The I'm sorry. I keep wanting to say throughput, but that's not right.
Throughput.
Throughput is 5.5 gigabytes raw, typical 8 to 9 gigabytes compressed speed, and that's the speed of the data transfer. Expandable storage, N as in November, V, M as in Mama, E, SSD slot.
Okay.
I don't know.
I'm
External
gonna say
storage.
I don't know.
Yeah. External storage is the USB HDD support, which is for PS4 games only. The optical drive, 4K UHD
So
Blu-ray
it will
drive.
be backwards compatible.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And the optical drive is 4K UHD Blu-ray drive. So
Okay.
those are all the specs. Sounds fancy, sounds good, I guess. I don't know much about the technical aspect of consoles, to be
Still interesting though.
completely honest, but it was good to interesting to learn about some of this stuff. So now we're going to get into games that were announced alongside the PS5, and it's kind of a long list, so I'm going to just try to rapid fire them.
Go, go, go.
Ready, go. Currently, with no release date, there's 2 games. Square Enix announced Project Athia, which is a working title, and Neostream Interactive announced Little Devil Inside.
Okay.
And the next bit is for 2020 release dates. Norsefall Games announced Tribes of Midgard, remastered for PS5, and it was originally released on console platforms in July of 2019. From Giant Squid, The Pathless, there's no official release date, but like I said, 2020. From Housemarque, Returnal, releasing alongside the PS5 exclusively for the PS5. From Epic Games, Jet the Far Shore. From Arcane Studios, Deathloop, set to release alongside the PS5, which is holiday 2020. From Counterplay Games, the game called Godfall, releases in December. From Ember Lab, Kenna, The Bridge of Spirits. From Oddworld Inhabitants, Oddworld Soulstorm, set to release on all platforms, not just the PS5.
Woo!
From SIE Japan Studios, Astro's Playground, which is the sequel to Astrobot Rescue Mission. It's a PlayStation exclusive and will be releasing along the PS5 in holiday 2020. From Polyphony Digital and Sony Interactive, Gran Turismo 7, set to launch alongside the PS5 holiday season 2020.
Nice.
Next list is 2020 release dates, and there's not any specific dates, so this is just all 2021. From KOOP, Goodbye Volcano High. From Lucid Games, Destruction All Stars. From Blue 12 and Annapurna Interactive, Stray. It's a game where you play as a cat.
Yes, I'm a stray cat, bitch.
Another from Epic Games, Solar Ash. From Tango Gameworks,
Tango gaze.
Ghostwire. I know, I am a Tango gay.
Oh my god.
Put that on my resume. Anyway.
I'd hire you.
I know, I'd hire me
that
too.
up out front, like with that, I'd be like, hell yeah, be a part of my Tango
now hiring Tango gays only.
Perfect.
From Tango Gameworks, Ghostwire Tokyo was originally released on PC and it's making its console debut in 2021. And from IO Interactive, Hitman 3 set to launch in January 2021.
Nice.
2022 launch date from Capcom is Pragmata. And these last couple are the big kind of AAA titles. They're the quote-unquote most anticipated. So from Visual Concepts, NBA 2021. No official release date, but going by past release date, sometime to beginning to mid-September 2020. From Rockstar Games, Grand Theft Auto 6. From Insomniac Games, Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart.
Woo.
Another Insomniac game, Marvel's Spider-Man Miles Morales, set to release late this year. And another from Capcom, Resident Evil Village, set to release in 2021. And these last two are the ones that I'm most excited for, so I saved them for last, and this is my podcast, so I can do that.
Yeah.
From SIE Japan Studio, originally released on February 5th, 2009 for the PlayStation 3, Demon Souls is being remastered for the PS5.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm. And the last one, from Guerrilla Games, it's a PlayStation exclusive. Aloy returns in the Horizon Zero Dawn sequel, Horizon Forbidden West. No announced release date yet, but given that we are already in June, I'm not thinking that it's going to come until like 2021.
I would say, yeah.
But this is one of my favorite games. Like, I literally have a cat named Aloy after this game, so I'm
really cool.
pumped about this one. And it looks beautiful. all of these games trailers, you can find links to them on the PlayStation official Twitter, or if you go to the PlayStation website, you can find links to the trailers from there as well. Or if you just want to go to YouTube and look them up that way, that's how I found most of them. So, 2 more news stories, but they're kind of small, but they're still fun to talk about. So, straight from the horse's mouth, Nintendo.com. The first set of content for Pokemon Sword and Shield expansion pass is set to release on June 17th, so it'll already be out by the time this happens. It's called the Isle of Armor, and I'm just going to read a little blip to you verbatim. Many Pokemon make this island their home, living freely amid the lush nature. The island is also home to a dojo for Pokemon battles. Players and their Pokemon will train hard to become stronger under Mustard, the master of this dojo.
Mustard?
Mustard.
What?
I don't know.
Fuck?
The new content includes a Galarian form for Slowbro, Gigantamax forms of Venusaur and Blastoise, a new legendary Pokemon called Urshifu, Urshifu.
Interesting.
And it comes with new abilities and new adventuring features called the Cram-O-Matic, which you can put in 4 items of any kind of items, and an item will spit back out to you, like Pokeballs, PP-Ups, stuff like that. And some combos will net you rarer items than others. So I guess it's just going to be something people will have to play around with.
I guess so.
There's a new curry called Max Soup, made from rare ingredients only found on the Isle of Armor, and it grants certain Pokemon with hidden potential and new rare ability, and some Pokemon who you are already traveling with, if you give them Max Suit, will grant the ability to Gigantamax. And yep, so second set of DLCs, no specific release date yet, but still fall 2020. And last, but most certainly not least, because this would not be our podcast if we did not talk about it, I found this on NBC
Animal
News.
Crossing!
Yes, ma'am. It's pretty heartwarming news. The class of 2020 grads from high school all the way to doctorate are not letting COVID-19 ruin their big milestones and celebrations of achievements. I will send you the link to the video, but there are videos and news stories of
the people doing graduations.
Yeah, who are doing graduations in
I've
Animal
seen some.
Crossing. Aren't they free? Isn't that freaking
It's
adorable?
so cool.
I love that. So I'm sending you the link to the video that I have if you want to watch it, and I'll
Yeah,
post
absolutely.
it in the show notes if anybody else cares to watch it.
It's so cool.
Yep. So they're hosting commencement ceremonies in Animal Crossing in order to be able to still kind of like celebrate their accolades and achievements,
which is still really cool.
Yeah, I think it's amazing that Animal Crossing came at the perfect time, the savior of the world.
This is the future, y'all.
Yeah, and it's just
we live in 2030.
Yeah, it's just awesome that people are finding ways to celebrate their achievement. I mean, I'm talking like people from high school all the way to doctorate degrees are
that's so cool,
celebrating their commencement ceremonies in Animal Crossing, which I think is just amazing. So that's all I have for you.
Thank you for sharing. I am very excited. No, I think that's really cool that they're still celebrating in the ways that they can. And honestly, this is the future. Like, it's crazy to see what we're doing now, but thank you for sharing.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun to go through this. I'll be honest, I thought that I had finished my notes, and then I woke up this morning and I was like, shit, the PS5 stuff happened on Thursday. So
I like, shit, I gotta add this in.
That's partly why the games were rapid fire, because I didn't have time to do a ton of research other than list out who made them and when they were coming.
That's fine though.
Which is, well, I was gonna say, which is fine. I mean, I don't need to give a whole synopsis.
Yeah, exactly. I'm sorry that my story was disgusting.
Ugh.
But it is important to talk about because it is something that people do not talk about frequently, and it is something that I'm sure people are still doing without us knowing. It was probably easier back then when there's no internet, but yeah, real bad. Really, really bad.
I am so sorry that I did not make much commentary during your story.
I'm sorry that I had to read it to you.
It was only because I
was horrified the entire time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't blame you because honestly, I already knew a lot of the story, and even still reading it back, I was more grossed out the more I kept reading, even though I wrote my notes.
I don't know what to say about that. All that.
It's just a lot. Sorry, y'all. I mean, same with Brittany Murphy. Like, that story also is super sad, but it needs to be
but
told.
it wasn't as gross, I don't think.
No. Well, except pristine, silky, curvy body, so
Okay, that was pretty gross.
Exactly. But
I
thanks
think you
for
have to take
joining.
Zero to the vet, right?
Yeah, I'm taking him to get shots in a little
Yay.
while, so I'm gonna get dressed and stuff. But thank you everyone for tuning in yet again to
Yeah.
talk to us and listen
You
to my
can
disgusting story. Sorry, y'all.
you can find us on social media at ghoulgaminggals.podcast for Instagram, at galsghoul for Twitter. You can probably find us on Facebook. I don't know.
Probably.
Um,
Maybe. If you try hard
you,
enough.
you can email us at ghoulgaminggals@gmail.com. You can find us on Twitch. Janelle is Janelle Nelly. I am Aria Makila, AUREUMAQUILA. And we'll catch you in the next episode.
Have a good week, everybody.
Okay, bye.
Okay, bye.